Hello and welcome to Scandinavian Design 101. Recently we stumbled upon a whole bunch of vintage tabourets by the Austrian-Swedish architect Josef Frank, obviously produced by Firma Svenskt Tenn. And I'm going to show you some of them today. I really love these pieces for several reasons. Obviously the craftsmanship is great, but it's much more than that. They all belong to a type of modernist furniture that's fundamentally different from the things made at the Bauhaus school or the strict architects like Bruno Mathsson, for example. Early modernists often claimed that nothing could be learned from history, and that modernism was something completely new without historical roots or predecessors. But as you can see here, these tabourets are the fundamental opposite of that. But before talking more about these tabourets, I want to say a few words about Josef Frank. And Frank grew up in Vienna in a secular Jewish family and studied to become an architect at the technical school, from which he graduated in 1908. Already around 1910, he started creating furniture and textiles for his own interiors. And during the 20s, he designed several large housing estates in Vienna, a town in desperate need of new houses for the growing population. He started the interior design company Haus und Garten in 1925 together with two colleagues, and started creating objects quite different from the dominating modernist furniture. The modernist scene in Vienna was strong, but Frank disagreed with some of the fundamental ideas behind functionalism. He didn't like Le Corbusier and other similar architects, who he considered to be way too boring and strict. According to Frank, such ideas resulted in grey and boring people. And Frank even claimed that tubular steel was a threat against humanity. And during this time he came in contact with the doctrines of the father of Danish modern design, Kåre Klint, and agreed with much of his ideas. And according to Klint, a designer should always study antique and even ancient furniture before even thinking of designing something of his own. And with this way of thinking, furniture design became more about refinement rather than revolutionary new ideas. And this was obvious in the objects designed by Frank. Inspiration came often from ancient predecessors from around the world, for example, and shapes and colors from nature were incorporated, and the goal was to create cozy and comfortable interiors filled with colors and warm atmosphere. A big news in 1922 was the discovery of the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. And it was discovered by the British archaeologist Howard Carter after years of searching. And this was a rare event since the tomb was intact and not disturbed by grave robbers. And in the tomb, several well-preserved pieces of furniture were found, and pictures of these were soon spread in newspapers and books. And designers, not least in Scandinavia, got highly inspired by these ancient pieces of furniture and designed modern reinterpretations. And there are several well-known examples of this, and best known is perhaps the Egypt chair by Finn Hjul. You can see it here. And now back to Josef Frank. In the late 1920s, he came in contact with the Swedish designer and businesswoman Estrid Eriksson, who was the founder of Firma Svenskt Tenn. A few years later, in 1933, he left Vienna because of the growing anti-Semitism and settled in Stockholm. At the time, Frank was almost 50 years old. He was soon hired by Firma Svenskt Tenn, and this marked the beginning of an extremely successful collaboration. The international breakthrough came with the 1937 Paris World's Fair and 2 years later in New York. And in Sweden, we tend to call Frank a Swedish designer, but that's obviously not the whole truth. Actually, far from the truth, I think. But he was almost 50 when he moved to Stockholm, and already after a decade, he moved to the US because of World War II. But the collaboration with Svenskt Tenn continued, and from US he designed not least a long range of textile patterns, and 50 of these were given to Estrid Eriksson as a gift on her 50th birthday in 1944. Later in life, he yet again moved back to Stockholm, but spent his summers in Provence painting watercolor. And he passed away in Stockholm in January of 1967. And now let's take a look at some of the tabourets we were lucky to buy recently. And first out is this one. My personal favorite, without doubt, actually. It's the taboret 1063, also called Tutankhamon, the Tutankhamon stool. And it was designed in 1941 by Josef Frank, and it's obviously inspired by a taboret found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. And it's almost more than inspired. It's almost like it's a replica of it, but the dimensions have been changed slightly. And I like it. It's the details are wonderful. And especially the shape of the seat. I love the profile and these flowing lines, and that's why I really, really like this taboret. And it's I'm not sure really if it's that useful in a home, because it's you can have it to sit on, but why would you sit on a taboret? And it's a too good piece of furniture to have like in a hallway or something just to put on your shoes. But yeah, nevertheless, this is it's a wonderful piece of art, this taboret. And next out is this one. And it's the taboret number 972. And it's often called the Egyptian stool. And it's no surprise because the model is highly inspired by Egyptian taborets from ancient time. And I like this one too, of course. It's the best thing with it, I think, is the legs, the shape, like the trumpet-shaped legs. So this is one of my favorites too. And then we have this third taboret, and I'm not really sure if we should call this a taboret or a stool. I think it's a side table, but Svenskt Tenn calls this a taboret on their website. So let's call it a taboret. You can use it, of course, to sit on if you like, but it's often called the milking stool, and that's not very surprising either, because it looks, or at least it's highly inspired by old like Swedish peasant furniture and these small milking stools used by the farmers when they milk the cows. And it has some really great details on it. I like the way the legs are mounted to the either seat or tabletop, whatever you prefer. But it's some great details here. It's very good quality, and the overall shape is absolutely wonderful, I think. And this organic shape is very typical for the 1940s, and this taboret was designed in the 40s, but I'm not sure which year. Svenskt Tenn doesn't say that on their website. They just say that it was designed in the 40s. But several designers started designing organic furniture in the 40s and late 30s. famous, of course, is Finjul, for example, for his organic tables and sofas. But this is a Swedish example of this organic modernist aesthetic. And yeah, that was 3 tabourets by Josef Frank, inspired by ancient predecessors. Hope you liked them. We really like them. And if you like this episode, you can just click thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks a lot for watching.